Are you the nice girl or are you the dream girl?
The nice girl always loses, and I'm gonna tell you why.
When it comes to dating as a girl in Gen Z, some of us are very unlucky.
Men don't like a doormat, okay? You're either a dream girl or you're a doormat.
I'm talking you're always nice to your date, but somehow you still get ghosted. You never start fights or arguments, but you can never keep a guy around. You just wish he would take the next step to make it official, but he would always prefer to take things slow.
A lot of good girls can't find a man because men do not like good girls. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm gonna explain to you why, but men do not like good girls.
If this sounds familiar, chances are you're a little bit like me and have some qualities of the nice girl.
If you're a nice girl and you're struggling with dating, here's the truth about being nice. The reason that men don't find it attractive is because of this.
Romantically, if you chase them, they'll run away. Men are like that. Have you ever met this unbelievably beautiful, stunning girl? And they're just like so desperate, so eager, so predictable that the guy doesn't want her.
Last week I'd had enough after a very unfortunate date, and I decided things are gonna have to change in my dating life. So I read this book,
Why Men Love Bitches.
Why men love bitches.
Why men love bitches.
and let me tell you, this blew my mind. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, over anything else, you're in the right place. Starting off with the biggest concept in the book, which is the chase.
I was that doormat girl and I would cry over these guys. I joined a lacrosse team just to be closer to a guy. I did my homework in the cafeteria because the guy said I wasn't smart enough for him. Like I was that girl. And my mom one day was like, you have to read this book, Why Men Love Bitches. And I was like, wait, seriously? Like I need to be a bitch? But there's so much more to it than just like, oh, just be a bitch. Sherry, can you tell everyone, like, what does that mean? Like, why men love bitches? Does it mean, like, we have to be these intense, like, screw you?
Yeah,
or,
do we
like,
have to
what
be
does that
mean?
mean?
Like, yeah, elaborate.
Not mean at all. Just strong and feminine, but dignified.
Ooh.
Men don't like desperate, and they don't like women who are on their hands and knees, and they don't like women they can take advantage of. If they can manipulate you and you're too easy and you're a yes woman, they immediately, something turns off in them. They want a woman that they can really be proud of and that is proud of herself.
The author explains this super well. Essentially, men have an instinct to chase. If they want something, they will go after it. Men have this thing where actively going after something makes them want that thing even more. Now's probably a good time to highlight the fact that this book is very heteronormative. It addresses only men and women in heterosexual relationships, but you could probably apply it to other dynamics as well. If a guy is making obvious conscious efforts to pursue you and show that he likes you, then he does like you. If there is no obvious signs of effort or interest, then he doesn't like you. And sometimes it's really brutal to hear it like that and to see it clear as day, because then you're like, oh, but he said this and he did that. Like literally, I went on a date the other week where the guy at the end of the day gave me a hug and was like, I had a great time, like I'll text you when I get back home. And then I went back home, I had a bunch of emails to catch up on, so I was like quite busy like the whole evening after the date. And it got to like 11 o'clock, I was ready to go to bed and I was like, he's still not texted yet? And I was so confused because I was like, he said that he would, but it was only a first date, so I didn't want to overthink it. But sometimes you get signals from them and they literally say things, but then they don't deliver on it. But what I'm coming to realize, the author says that if you're ever too eager or showing the guy that you're putting in effort, you're making an effort with your appearance, your outfit, you're cooking for him, you're driving to his city, you're showing subtly in your actions that you really want him to like you, that will put them off because they like a chase. The author literally says in the book, nice girls need to know what a dream girl understands. Overcompensating or being too eager to please will lessen a man's respect. It will give the kiss of death to his attraction and it will put a time limit on the relationship.
When they don't have something that's just outside their reach, then literally there are studies done where their endorphins are going through the roof. And those endorphins will eventually convince them that they're falling in love with a woman. It's a rush for them to want something and to not have it. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not talking about a mean-spirited game. I'm talking about good-natured, keep him a little on his toes.
I'm currently editing, but I just wanted to pop in and quickly say, this video is definitely aimed at people that date men. It's not actually aimed at men. But if you are a guy, I'm genuinely really curious what you think of this book and like the opinions of this book, because I think it's really controversial from the reviews and from what people say about the title alone. Like, do you think it's accurate? Do you think women should actually be following this advice? Like, is there any truth to it? Like, I want to know. The reason reason why the chase is so important and a fundamental thing you have to understand is because in the book, she describes the fact that men, obviously some men love sports, some men don't. For the men that do like sports, the reason why they are so obsessed with it and so passionate, say, imagine their favorite team is playing in like the Super Bowl. The game is a draw. It's literally 5 minutes to go until the end. No one's winning. It could be his favorite team or it could be another team. Most people watching will be on the edge of their seats. They'll be like absolutely gripped, attached to the screen, like where they want to know what happens next. Versus say like, I don't know, their favorite team is playing, but it's like 0-47 in a game. It's quite obvious who the winner is. Even if there's 5 minutes to go, you're not interested, you're not intrigued, you're not like, you don't have that same like desire to see what happens like the other game would have. And this is essentially what she says is the dynamic that the nice girl gives versus the dream girl. When you're the nice girl and you make it obvious that like you are always available for him, you're always replying really quickly to messages, you're always going to go out of your way to make him happy and make him like just pleased, then he's not going to be as interested, he's not going to be as excited to pursue you. And this was a tough pill to swallow for me because I would say that sort of thing. I would say, I don't want to play any game, but I just want to be like normal. I thought, I'll reply on time, I'm going to like make myself available. If I've got something in my calendar, like, okay, well, I'll figure out what's a good day to meet up with them. Maybe I'd move things around, maybe I'd change my schedule to go out on a date. Whereas now what I'm coming to realize is that is a big fat no-no. The dream girl would never literally move an inch to meet up with a guy. Her calendar, her schedule, her plans always stay firmly in place. That means if she replies a day later because she was super busy seeing friends and at work, then so be it. If she replies 5 minutes after a text because she's on her phone and she's happy to reply, then so be it. But she would never inconvenience herself or make any sort of effort to impress or make things easier for a guy.
If you're a nice girl and you're struggling with dating, you're wondering why is it that nice girls finish last? Why is it that you're doing everything right, or it seems, and men don't seem to choose you, but they go after the selfish girls? I want you to listen to this. I was the poster child of nice girls, and this is what dating me would look like. Tell me if you can relate. We'll go wherever you want to go. I don't care what we eat, whatever you want. Oh, you're calling to cancel last minute? No problem. I'm not going to complain about that. No matter how little effort you put into this relationship, it's okay. I've got this. I'll pick up the slack. You would hardly ever hear the word no from me, and I would have very little expectation. And guess what? For as long as I behaved that way, no guy actually ever chose me. Even though I would give and do everything, thinking that that's what it takes for a guy to fall in love, they wouldn't fall in love with me. Here's the truth about being nice. The reason that men don't find it attractive is because of this. It is a manipulation tactic. It's not because you don't really care where you eat or when you put up with bad behavior, it's okay. It doesn't feel okay. Your authentic self doesn't feel good about it, but because you so badly want him to stay, for him not to get mad at you and leave, that you just put up with that bad behavior and you pretend that everything is okay so that he would stay.
When it comes to Gen Z and like 2024 and dating app culture, situationship culture, a lot of the times there's a lot of guys on dating apps now that just want something casual. They won't say that they're looking for a situationship, but they definitely want the benefits of a girlfriend, but they don't want the commitment and the label of a girlfriend. So it's like, how am I supposed to find a potential partner? I'm not gonna play hard to get, but I'm gonna live a fulfilled, busy, occupied life, seeing my friends, doing my work. I'm not gonna put you as the priority. You're just kind of the thing on the side. How am I supposed to do that in a world where a lot of guys on the apps will look for the easiest option, quote unquote? They don't want to have to work for something where someone else is gonna be able to give it to them a lot easier. Like if I'm saying, no, I can't meet up with you tonight, I'm gonna meet up with you next week when I'm free, then a lot of the times I feel like guys would then be like, oh, well, fine then. And then they'll move on to the next person. And as I'm saying that, I'm now realizing like that's obviously not even a guy that you want to spend time with. Like going back to the chase and the philosophy behind it, the author talks about the fact that men will work for you if they like you. Not because of a game, not because of manipulation, not because you're playing hard to get, but because psychologically they are hardwired to pursue things that they desire. If there's no pursuit, they just don't like you. The nice girl is a person that really prioritizes being agreeable, being friendly, being nice, making you happy and going out of her way to give you everything that you want. Versus the dream girl, she lives life on her terms. She does what makes her happy. She does not care if you agree with her, if you see her as polite or friendly. Everything in her life is so fulfilled and she's so content with her own life that she does not need approval from you. She doesn't care if you're really rich, if you're really successful, if you've got a yacht. There's actually a guy in the book she gave this story of a guy who literally got rejected, even though he was a guy with a yacht, really rich, successful, because this girl was just so preoccupied with her own life and doing her own thing that she was like, I don't care that you have a yacht, like, I'm not interested. But anyway, the dream girl does not care about you more than she cares about herself. She always puts herself as the priority. There was a lot of men that were interviewed in the book, and what they had to say was really interesting. When a woman is always really sweet and nice, it can become monotonous. I like a woman who can put me in my place. If I'm being a jerk and she brings it to my attention, it makes me respect her. When you try to get away with doing something that you know isn't right and a woman says, I don't have time for that, it can be a turn on. It depends on the situation, but I like a woman who has integrity to stand by what she believes. As a self-proclaimed nice girl, I think holding a grown man accountable and being like, I don't have time for that, like, don't do that. That is literally unheard of for me. Like, that is something that I would never ever do. I don't like the feeling of like people are taking advantage of me or people are walking all over me. I've had that a bunch with friendships and I don't want to have that in relationships as well. The nice girl is a girl that does everything that a guy wants without him investing in the relationship, without any sign that he's committed to you, only has eyes for you, really wants to see a future with you. She's already invested her time, energy, effort into him. She's the sort of person that might give and give and give blindly just because she wants her efforts to be reciprocated. And she goes along with what he wants just to keep the peace and make him happy because deep down she's quite scared of losing the relationship. Versus on the other hand, the dream girl, she won't stress herself to impress anyone. In the book, the author gives the analogy of like, say they were both cooking a meal for their partner. Like the nice girl would make an effort, look at recipes, get cookbooks, buy nice, like, I don't know, dinner table doilies and little like cutlery. Like she would make a huge effort to cook an amazing meal and present it really well. Versus the dream girl, she'd literally get popcorn out of a bag. She literally said this, the author. She'd get popcorn out of a bag and be like, do you want it in the bag or do you want it in like a Tupperware? She does not try to impress you. She's a very busy woman, limited time, limited availability. Like she's not going out of her way. I want to reiterate that this is really not about manipulation. Like I see a lot of amazing reviews for this book and a lot of negative ones. And in my eyes, this book it's not about manipulation. It's more about self-worth. Like the nice girl and the dream girl. I feel like the nice girl is desperately trying to get validation from guys and that will make her feel better about herself. Like she needs the relationship, she needs the guy to feel like approval and to feel like she's accepted. Whereas the dream girl, she already approves of herself. She is already validated. She doesn't need your approval.
Have you ever met this unbelievably beautiful, stunning girl? I've known 2 of them in my life. And they're just like so desperate, so eager, so predictable that the guy who is so much shitter than her in every way doesn't want her.
They're the girls that you'd see on Instagram and you'd be like, oh, they're so pretty.
Like, and they can't even get the average Joe, mate. Why?
Yeah, it's nothing to do with the way you look. And there's girls that aren't even that pretty. They have bagged some serious guys. Why? Their confidence is the way they carry themselves.
They don't want anything that's too easy.
If you do have wishes for a certain type of relationship or you wish for a bit more respect in dating, I actually think if less of your validation and confidence is in relationships and men, then things will slowly start to work out better for you. And I'm guessing that the author is along the same line because she said, he must feel like you choose to be with him, not that you need to be with him. Only then will he perceive you as an equal partner. So it's not like you're then gonna, I don't know, watch this video or read the book because I'll link it down below. Definitely read it if you're resonating with this. It's not like I'm going back on Hinge or you're going about your relationships like you need this guy and you need him to reply to your message. You need to go on that date. You need him to compliment you. It's like you just choose to be with him. You're already completely okay and validated on your own. He's just like an extra. And I don't mean extra like in an objective way. I just mean in like you're already validated sort of way. Another really interesting concept in this book is the concept of the silent treatment. According to the author, men don't respond to words, they respond to no contact. So I had a conversation with a guy the other week where literally I felt like I was steering the conversation. I was I'll actually insert screenshots. The guy was giving one-word answers. He was not giving me anything to work with. I was asking all the questions like, and how was your day? And, oh, what do you do for work? And, oh, that sounds really tough. Like, how do you find, like, the conversation literally didn't go anywhere. Oh, I think he's unmatched me. Love that for me. Imagine giving one-word answers and then unmatching the person that was asking you the questions. Anyway, the conversation literally on my end was like two, 3 lines at times, like my messages. And then his would just be like one word, like, yeah, cool, thanks. Or a project engineer or whatever. Like in this chapter, the author talks a lot about having like a take it or leave it attitude. Like you do not have to try. You do not have to make an effort. You do not have to need to force the conversation. Later on in the relationship, when it's like you're more going on actual dates, phone calls, FaceTimes, you don't need to force anything as a dream girl. Whereas as the nice girl, sometimes you feel like you have to step up and you have to make the effort. And in my case, I guess with that conversation, like I was probably giving more nice girl. Like I was stepping up and trying to get the conversation going. And I didn't see it. This was before I read the book. When I was having that conversation with the guy who was like literally blank as anything, I was just seeing it as like, I just want to have a conversation. Like I just want to get to know you a little bit, but you're giving me nothing to work with. After reading this book though, I've come to realize something that she said is sometimes men will give you like no contact or they won't call you. They want to see how much of a hold they have on you. So she talked about whether or not they have like 100% hold on you or whether they don't have a hold on you. Someone who they have a hold of is a girl where, okay, I'm not going to text her for say like a day. Let's see what happens. A girl that they have an 100% hold on would frantically message maybe 4 or 5 times in that 24 hours. Oh, where are you? Like, I'm just checking in. I don't want to be overbearing, but like, are you okay? Like, that's the sort of girl that would message quite a lot. There might be a girl that's maybe in the middle. She sends 1 or 2 messages in that 24 hours. And then there's a girl that he does not have a hold of, 0% hold, who just also doesn't reply for 24 hours. She's giving him the exact same energy that he gave her. And you might think you're being nice and you're being like polite by checking in. But what the author talks about is the fact that guys are actually more attracted to people that they have a 0% hold on. They don't like knowing what's going to happen. It goes back to the football game analogy. Like when it's a tie, they don't know who's going to win. They're on the edge of their seat. It's unpredictable. They want to know. That activates the desire within them to want to know and to be really curious and to pursue. Versus if you're giving them everything on a plate and you're making it known that you're always here, you're always available, I'll always text you, they then start to lose interest. The author literally described it as a kiss of death to the attraction. If you've ever wondered why guys don't reply to your text messages or take ages to get back to you, that is why. The book was really eye-opening because it touched on not only like the early stages of dating, getting to know someone, but also more long-term committed relationships. If you're someone who's kind of got a long-term partner or even you're married with kids, she talks about the fact that you need to be his lover, not his mother. She calls this the mama versus the hoe complex. So in a relationship, men will either see you as their mama or their hoe. His mama is someone he has a lot of love and affection for, he has a lot of time for, he really cares about, but he has no chemistry. Like there is no attraction, there is no spark. To sum it up in 3 words, the mama is safe, boring, and there's just no spark. Versus the hoe in a relationship, it's not the stereotypical like, connotations of what we think of a hoe. It's more so like there is attraction, there is a spark. It's not monotonous, it's not predictable, there's fireworks. I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer as I'm editing this. I know the author, and I'm saying the word hoe, but I don't that's not what the author means, like the literal stereotypical thing you think of when you think of hoe, like of a woman that sleeps around or a person that sleeps around, very promiscuous. It's more so, I think she's using mama and hoe because they're the complete opposite of each other. And she's saying like when you're the mama and you're really nurturing, very predictable being the key thing, like that dulls down any sort of attraction versus the hoe, quote unquote, which is actually more so someone who's unpredictable and lives life on their own terms, does their own thing, isn't going to change their schedule for you, isn't going to reply at the drop of a hat to you. The hoe is nothing really to do with like sexual activity. It's more so just like you living life on your terms and being a bit more unpredictable. Once you've gotten past the early stages of relationship, she kind of talks about the fact that it is easier to slip from being his lover, where there is unpredictable, you've got your own schedule, you're living the dream girl life, but slowly over time you might slip into being his mother, where you do some of the big no-nos of what a mother does, where you are constantly checking in on him, doing the laundry, doing the cooking and cleaning, asking him like why he's late when he gets back from work, like getting him to explain himself. And she talks about the fact that this causes like a death to the romance and kind of causes the relationship to kind of like dwindle a little bit, is because you're leaving him no room to come towards you. So in any dynamic where there is attraction, where there is desire, there has to be a gap. If you are the nice girl and you close that gap by approaching them or messaging them loads, driving to them, making efforts to move towards them, you're closing the gap so the attraction is gone. Or maybe you're further into your relationship. You've been together 10 months, a year, but slowly as time's gone on, you started to miss him and worry about where he is, when he doesn't reply to your text messages, when he's out with the boys. And so then you start to pursue him again. You've then closed that gap. And what I've learned from this book, another key thing is just like, there needs to be a somewhat of a gap between the two of you for there to be attraction.
And I recently tried to set a man up with a woman, and he said to me, I don't think that's a good match. I actually went out with her once before and I didn't feel that it was a good match. And I said, why? And he said, there was zero pushback. I could tell that I would have been able to do anything that I wanted to do and get away with anything with this woman.
Which leads to boredom with men, which leads to boredom. They don't want a yes woman. That was sort of the revelation, really, in my book, among others. And women are taught that, right? They're taught that it's all about being a sex object and appealing to his fantasies. They're not taught that, the biggest sexual organ is between his ears and that he wants to be stimulated mentally.
I don't want to say these things like having attraction from a guy is important or having attraction from a guy is even something that you should pursue. I don't want to make it seem like getting the guy is the goal, because in essence, you are actually the goal. You are the prize. The guy isn't the prize. That brings me on to my next point. The nice girl is easily impressed, but the dream girl is not easily impressed. She told this really funny story. I actually can't even believe it. So essentially, there was a rich guy who had a yacht. He was some sort of really successful business guy that always gets the girl that he wants. So somehow, some way, I think he stumbled across this girl and he was like, oh, I want to invite her on my yacht. So obviously this rich, successful guy, thinking that he would straight away get what he wanted, get the girl. She actually said no. She said, no, I can't come on your yacht. I've got a Tupperware party. He was in disbelief because he was like, what? Like, normally I'm guessing this always works for him. Like, if I say I've got a yacht, if she sees my watch, if she comes over and sees what I have access to, she's going to be like blown away. This always works. Surely it should work again. But it didn't. And essentially he had his yacht party and he couldn't even enjoy himself. Like, the author was talking about the fact that he was in disbelief the whole time that a girl would actually say no to him. So he then, I can't remember, the next weekend, he goes to see this girl and actually goes to her Tupperware party, like the next one. And he's in disbelief and shocked by the fact that this Tupperware party is actually a legit thing. He thought that she might have been lying about maybe the Tupperware party is just like a cover for like her seeing another guy. But no, like, she turns out she was actually having a Tupperware party. People brought in like different shaped Tupperwares, like heart-shaped, gingerbread man-shaped Tupperwares, and they all kind of like ate snacks at this party. And I thought this was a really interesting story because it's almost unbelievable. Like, I know we're all confident, independent women on this channel, but like, for someone to invite you on their yacht, whether you think you're a dream girl right now or whether you think you're a nice girl right now, I feel like most people living a somewhat normal life would be like, oh yeah, I'm busy, but like, yeah, I want to go on a yacht. Like, the amount of people that would be able to say no to that is very, very slim. So the fact that this girl legit said, no, I've got a Tupperware party, I think she was the host, so it's obviously important for her to be there, but you must be so content and fulfilled in your own life, like so preoccupied with your own thing to say no to that. I feel like this story just highlights the fact that you can have whatever standard you want. You can say that your standards are high. You can say that you'd only tolerate this sort of a man. Like, your standards are only as good as your actions. Your standards are only as good as what you're able to say no to. If you can say no to it, then okay, yeah, that is your standard. But if it comes along and you say yes, then it's not your standard. But going back to my main point, the nice girl is easily impressed, I think. And I don't think that's an offensive thing. I think that's just a lot of people are in this boat. I honestly think if you took the whole population and you put them on the spectrum of nice girl to dream girl, I'm sure most people would be leaning more toward the nice girl end. And that's not a shameful thing at all. It's just common. It's very average. But it's just something to be aware of, because in the book, she does talk about how men will take advantage if they can. She says, if you make it too obvious that you're excited to get something, some people will be tempted to dangle a carrot in front of your face. Essentially, if you make it known that you don't get this sort of treatment all the time, you're not used to guys opening doors, you're not used to guys paying for the first date, you're not used to guys like driving towards you, all these little things are obviously nice to haves, but if you make it obvious that you're not used to this, then sometimes I think guys can see that as like, that's the ceiling of what I'm gonna do. Like, okay, if she's impressed by me paying on the first day, I'm not gonna do much more. Like, what's the point in impressing her if this is already enough?
A lot of good girls can't find a man because men do not like good girls. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm going to explain to you why, but men do not like good girls. Because most good girls are people pleasers. Most good girls are satisfied with the bare minimum because they're good, right? They don't want to ask for too much because that's bad, right? These are all things that society made up for us to follow, but when you categorize yourself as a good girl, what you're telling the man is, I will go above and beyond to please you. You don't have to go above and beyond to please me because I'm satisfied with the bare minimum. That's not what they want. And that's why the bad girls, the toxic girls, the ones who ask for too much, constantly get provided for, constantly get what they want, because men like that. They like having to always reach a little higher. They like having to always do a little more. That's what excites them and keeps them in the relationship.
And this still applies when you're in like a long-term relationship, even if you have kids. I found it really interesting to read the book and see how there's like even parents that struggle with this or wives that struggle with this. But she just emphasizes the point of having like a purposeful, busy, occupied life. Like, have a weekly book club, have weekly sports that you go go to. Have Tupperware parties with your friends. Have a board game night, like have a movie night, have things that you have planned. The goal is not to get the guy or to attract the guy. The guy is to be so validated in your own life, like so fulfilled. You don't need to impress a guy. You don't need him. You just choose to be with him. Another thing the dream girl does is she holds them accountable. Some of the men she interviewed said, I like when a woman can put me in my place. If I'm being a jerk and she brings it to my attention, it makes me respect her. The childlike qualities in us men propel us to take advantage. It's a good thing to know that the woman you love won't put up with it. This is really interesting because as the nice girl previously, I would have been scared to see a guy like 2-3 dates in, we're getting to know each other, I know him quite well. If I saw him do something like bad, I know I would address it as like a friendly, jokey way. I'm not the best with confrontation, so I definitely address it, but I don't know if I would like hold him accountable, like in like a you did wrong sort of way.
Men always push their luck in a relationship with women. They do. They will see how far they can push you and see if you still come running back. And these pick-me girls, they come running back no matter what they do. They need a woman with respect and boundaries who says, this is not okay, you're not going to do this or you won't see me again.
I was watching Perfect Match, which is like a Netflix dating, it's like a B-Tech Love Island basically. And Jessica is a girl who I really respect because when she was seeing a guy on the show who wasn't behaving very well, like not handling himself in the appropriate manner, like kissing other girls in a different villa kind of manner, she actually really held her own and she held him accountable. Like she was not sugarcoating it. She was not doing like the jokey, lighthearted accountable like I would have done. She was doing the I'm disappointed in you, I can't believe you did that sort of thing. And Jessica is a mum. I think she's like nearly 30. She's got a 10-year-old daughter. Like she's a grown up. Like she obviously has a lot more life experience than me, but seeing how like as a woman, she wasn't afraid to like potentially lose the guy that she was matched up with. She wasn't afraid of like him not liking her, him being like, why is she shouting at me? Why is she being rude to me? Not even rude, because she was literally holding him accountable. He had literally kissed other girls in a different villa. They're not girlfriend and boyfriend or anything, but they have feelings for each other. And just seeing how she was like, I'm not afraid to hold you accountable. I'm going to respect myself and say how I really feel. That was really inspirational. So another takeaway for us nice girls out there that are slowly moving towards the dream girl persona is that men that can hold their own want a woman who can hold their own. Men that have standards want women with standards. Like they actually don't want you to let them take advantage. They don't want you to let them act in a disrespectful way. Like if they're moving mad, like tell them and hold them accountable. And I'd like to think I can do this. Confrontation is a huge battle. It's like a huge struggle for me. But it's not even like I'm not trying to say like I want to learn how to do it for a guy. I want to learn how to do it for myself because it's even something I struggle with in friendships as well. But just knowing that people respect you for it. Like I respect Jessica for the way that she handled that situation. And guys tend to respect their partners according to this book. Holding people accountable, being respectful of yourself and just standing up for yourself and speaking your truth is just something that generally people just respect. And the last thing in my notes is that I wanted to talk about the fact that you don't attract what you want, you attract what's normal for you. There are lots of different ways you can describe attraction and how things are attracted to each other. Not just relationships, but also like a goal that you set or something that you want to manifest, quote unquote. But something that I have learned after reading 11 chapters of this book, page after page, is that you won't attract what you want. The nice girl wants a loving partner that will go out of her way to make her happy, buy her flowers, treat her well, give her the princess treatment. That's what the nice girl wants. But what's normal for the nice girl is for her to put in effort and for her to step up. It's her doing all the work. She's maybe the sort of girl that is a people pleaser. She's the sort of girl that's used to working for her friendships, used to working loads and loads at work. She's used to working for her approval. And that's what's normal for her. So just like in her work life and in her friendship life, she's working for this approval. She's also working for the approval in relationships as well. Versus the dream girl, she might, my vision of how the dream girl might actually be in real life, because you might be inclined to think that she's a really attractive girl and stunning. But the author says actually that the dream girl in real life is often a very average looking girl. And I think the reason that is because if you're just used to already being validated, you already have approval, I get the vibe that you probably have like a very loving home, like loving parents. People just accept you, love you. You don't have to work for us to like you. You don't have to work for the fact that I'll pick you up from school, I'll cook you dinner, I'll braid your hair, you're invited to our party. Like the nice girl is someone that I feel like has grown up around so much just love and acceptance that like she knows that she never has to work for it at home. Why should she work for it out on a date? And this is maybe where I think unfair advantages come in, like the unfair advantage of some of us have it easier with self-confidence because maybe you have pretty privilege, maybe you have thin privilege, maybe you have white privilege. Like There's so many different dynamics that come into play with all of these things that I'm saying. Like, I don't want to act like it's just like an easy one way, take this advice and your life will be solved, because there's so many things that come into play. For some people, the norm is like, I have to work for you to like me. Whereas for some people, it's the opposite. Like, maybe you grow up with two parents at home, so you're used to seeing like a loving, healthy relationship. That in itself is a huge unfair advantage. Not a lot of people grow up with two parents at home that genuinely love each other. And so you will attract what's normal, which is two parents at home that have been together 25 years and they both love each other. Like, it's naturally going to be easier for you to attract that and to get into that sort of relationship. But with that being said, so much of this can be actively like, you can put it into place. Just because your parents are divorced, or just because your dad was really toxic growing up. I know all of this is tough because my parents are divorced and they're not together, and they were literally married for like 9 months, I think, like not very long. I'm already, after reading this book and reading other books and things that I've learned that I share in these videos, putting them into place, I've already noticed a shift. Like, you might be focused right now on seeing all the things that aren't working in your favor, and you see yourself as like, oh, I have such a long way to go. Like, what's the point in even trying? Like, this is never going to happen for me. A guy would never do these sort of things for me. Because that's something I used to think as well. I used to think, well, I have to force the conversation. I have to ask this guy all the questions who's giving me one-word answers, because he's not going to ask me. I have to do it. Like, these are all little things that we just have to slowly unlearn. And I'm definitely unlearning them as well. I don't want to act like I have all the answers. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my Gen Z is Undateable video, where I touch on all the different struggles and problems that we have as a generation. Let me know what you think of this book and this video in the comments below. What points in the book do you agree with, disagree with? Are you going to try and take on board? Are you going to avoid? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.